In this video tutorial, we're going to go over how to set up a calendar event that includes RSVPs. So first we will go to the calendar, and then I'm going to click on Manage. And of course, I am logged in as the administrator. So next we're going to create a new event. Click on New, and we'll set the category. I'm just going to go with Miscellaneous for now. And we are going to have a community dinner party. So we'll just call this dinner. I'm going to skip most of the details of setting up a calendar event, like restrictions and stuff like that, because this one I want to just focus on the RSVP part. So we've got a start date and end date, and I can change those, of course, if I want, but I'm just going to leave them for now. Let's say this is a non-repeating event, it's going to occur once, and I can put in the start time. Let's just say 6 p.m. And down here I can put a description in. And of course, this would be much longer in reality. You would describe, the dress code, the food that'll be available, other, payment options, and how much it costs, and whatever else you need to have in there to describe the event. Other dates, again, that's part of the calendar system. I'm not going to get too much into that, but you could add additional dates if you wanted to. If you had an event that occurred every Monday, a recurring event, but you had a special one and a special instance of it that was going to occur on a specific Tuesday, you could add dates there, but I won't go into much detail on that for now. I want to get down to here where we have allow members to RSVP. So that's where we turn that on and we get all these options for setting up RSVPs. So the first option I want to go over is allow up to how many attendees per RSVP. So let's say per RSVP, you want to allow up to 2. So that's your party size. That's the maximum party size for each person who's responding. In that case, there's basically themselves and one other person. And then the next one would be allow up to how many attendees in total. So this is for the entire event. How much seating do you have? So for example, you might have 50 seats available. Once it hits that, it will not accept any more RSVPs for this event. Do not allow reservations after is, this is a date at which you want to stop accepting RSVPs for this event. So if this event, occurs, on June 1st, but you want to stop on May 25th because you need a few days to order the amount of supplies you might need for the event, you could put in an earlier date. If you leave it blank, it'll just default to the day of the event. It'll take RSVPs up to that day. The next one is RSVPs apply to the event date only. So what this means is this is particularly useful, or really only useful, if it's a recurring event. So if you were setting up something, for example, like a class that you were going to hold at the clubhouse to teach people how to, use the gym equipment or something, you might want to have this event, once a month. So in that case, it's going to recur every month, let's say on the 1st. Well, this is one of those events where if I'm RSVPing on a class of how to use gym equipment, I don't need to go every month because it's the same class over and over. So in that case, you'd say, well, the RSVPs that the people are going to, when people RSVP, we only want their RSVP to be on the one date they've selected. So the opposite of that would be, for example, you have an event like a crafting club and they meet the 1st of every month. You might want to have RSVPs for those because you want to make sure you don't, you have enough seats or whatever. But for those, the people would be RSVPing. They might be RSVPing for everyone. In other words, they just basically want to go to all the different classes because every class that you hold is going to be a different activity. So they could be essentially RSVPing. Or you may want people to only be able to RSVP to each individual class. So it really depends on the type of event you're setting up and how you want to control it in terms of people RSVPing. Allow waiting list is still an experimental feature, but it does work. What it is it allows you to have the system set up where if somebody goes to RSVP, let's say there are 49 people who have already RSVP'd, and somebody wants to RSVP with a party size of 2. That's not going to fit because there's only one spot left. What it will do is it will accept the RSVP, but it will tell them you've been added to the waiting list. So it automatically says if you don't fit, we're going to put your name on the waiting list. If they were to RSVP with one person, then it'll say, okay, you will fit. We have one seat left, and it will put you on the actual RSVP list as an attendee. Then what'll happen is if somebody were to remove their party of 2 people and there's a party of 2 on the waiting list, that party on the waiting list would get moved up. Keep in mind that you can have multiple people on the waiting list of different party sizes, but it's going even though there may be people ahead of you. Let's say there's a party of 4 in an event, that allows 4 people to RSVP. If there's a party of 4 on the waiting list and a party of 2 drops out when it's full, it'll just move down the waiting list till it finds the first party of 2 in the order they were added, the first in, first out. So it'll skip over that party of 4 because there's just not enough seats freed up by that 2-person party canceling. So that's kind of how that works. And you can view the waiting list in the same place you can view attendees, which I'll show you in a minute. So the restrict RSVPs is a feature that allows you to say, let's say this feature, this event is not restricted at all. That means everybody on the website can view this event. But let's say this is an event for, like we said before, like an example of the crafting club. You only want people in the crafting club to be able to RSVP because they've joined the club already. So you kind of want everybody, might want everybody to see that there's a crafting club meeting going on. But for this one, we only want people who are part of that club. So you could go through this list and find the crafting club, or this happens to only have a committee listed here, but at the end of the list, you'd see your committees and clubs. You could select that club and say only people in that club can RSVP, or only people who are board members can RSVP, whatever the appropriate restriction is. And then down below that, we have an option to allow non-administrative members to view the attendees. So you can opt to keep kind of the attendee list private so that only administrators can see it, which is the default option, off. Or if it's okay for everybody to see who's attending, you can check that box, and then all the regular resident members will be able to click on the view attendees button and see all the list of attendees. Allow public to view this event. So this would be if the calendar itself is marked as public in the menu editor, then that means everybody in the world can see the calendar and whichever events are public. So in this case, you could make the event public. RSVPs require you to be a member. Notify members is just an option to notify members who have subscribed when you save this item. So I'm going to go ahead and I think we've got this all set here. So I'm going to go ahead and save this. And we can go back to, actually, I want to move that date up 1 day so I can still RSVP. So let me go in here and I'm going to change this to tomorrow's date. And we don't even need the ending date because it's only a 1-day event. I'm going to save it. And I'm going to go over to here and click on calendar so I can view the calendar. And on tomorrow's date, we have the dinner. So now when I click on that, I can see the details. And now we have this section down here. Because we enabled RSVPs, we have the RSVP section. I can click on view attendees. But first, let me go over how this works. So because I am an administrator right now, I have this option right here. This will not appear for non-admin members. For obvious reasons. Only an administrator can go in and RSVP for another member. And that might be the case where, maybe you have some members who aren't particularly savvy with the website, or they're a little confused on how to RSVP. So you just want to go in and do it for them. They've asked, could you just please RSVP for me? They contact the webmaster and say, I want to attend this. I don't know how to use the website, or I don't wish to. So you go ahead and, as an administrator, you can click this and select the member. And then it updates, and now it's RSVPing for demo user. And I can say they'll attend with 2 people, and I'm going to click attend. And then it updates, and it's done. So, and then you can see here it shows you can RSVP up to 514. This event allows 50 attendees. There are currently 48 seats remaining because we already RSVP'd with a party of 2. So now if you want to view the attendees, you can click on the view attendees button, and it'll show you the demo user has opted to attend, and they have a party size of 2. As the administrator, you can delete this by clicking that button, And now we're back to 50 remaining seats because I just deleted the only attendee who had two spots. So that is how you set up RSVPs, and that is generally how they work. And I hope you found this tutorial helpful, and thank you very much for watching.